Okay guys, so what we're going to do, we're going to look at two sets of numbers, okay? So at the top here, I've got set A, okay, which is the set I wrote on the board, and I've got set B here, which is a student set, okay? And the question is, basically, what's the difference between set A and set B? That's what we're looking at, okay? Now, a lot of you have drawn dot plots and done that very well, and I'll do that later on, but I've been asked how to do the finding out the key information. So remember that the key information you need to know is the mean. Okay, you also need to know the minimum, which we call quartile 0. Okay, the lower quartile, which we call Q1. Okay, the median, which we call Q2. Okay, the upper quartile, which we call Q3, and the maximum, which we call Q4, just so that you get the idea. Okay, and you're also going to need to work out the range and the interquartile range. And I'm going to show you how to do all of this on your calculator. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is get your calculator out. All right, now I'm going to zoom in on the screen now, okay, so you can see what you're doing. So let it just sort itself out. Okay, so can we all see this nice and clearly?
Yep.
Right, so you need to go on your calculator to menu, that's this button here. And once you press menu, you get this screen up, and then go to stats and press enter like this, and then you see some lists. Okay, I'm just going to delete this bit off because I don't know why that's there, so don't worry about this bit. And what I'm hoping you can see is that already, okay, in my different lists, I've created two lists, list 1 and list 2. List 1 is my numbers, list 2 is the students' numbers. Okay, and that's just a case of just typing them all in. All right. Now I know there are 20 numbers, so when I got to the end, if I didn't get to 20 numbers, or I've got 21 numbers, I've either typed something in double, or I've only done it once, or something like that. Okay? So just make sure you got the right number of numbers. At this point, for the purposes of the video, I'm going to stress again, it doesn't matter if there's more numbers in one group than in the other. Okay? So this is what we need to do. We are going to analyze just list 1 right now. Okay? So I'm going to go to my little arrow over here. So this arrow is the one I want. So I'm going to press F6 to select that arrow, and I'm going to press it again. Okay, so I can toggle between the menus. So if I want to toggle between different menus, I toggle. Now I do that to tell you that if you wanted to delete a whole list, if you found that your calculator's already got a list in it, okay, you select this one, and it will delete the entire list for you. Okay, I'm not going to do that right now though. Okay, so I've got my numbers in. I'm going to do some calculations. So I don't want a graph, I want calculation. So that means I click this F2 button here. Okay, now it says I've got 1 or 2 reg or set. Now we are only looking at one thing. Yeah, the one thing in our case is what your numbers were. Now I know there's two sets, but we're still only looking at one thing. So if we were doing heights, yeah, we had boys' heights and girls' heights, we still only got one thing. That's heights, okay? So we are going to look at one variable, but before we do that, we're going to go to this set mode to make sure everything's set up. So here is how it works. I'm looking at list 1, and each number appears once in my list. So that's what I'm looking to see. Okay? List 1 and 1 each. Don't worry about any of the others, because we're only looking at one variable. Okay? So it needs to say list 1 and 1. And if that's okay, you just press the execute button, which is the blue button at the bottom, and it's quite happy. And now I'm going to press my one variable button like this. And I've got a big list appears. Okay? The first number in the list, the one that says X with a bar over it, is the mean. So next to my mean one, I can say mean for group A was 13.35. Let's bring that down. Okay, so I've written that for group B. Now for B, I'll do that in a minute. Okay, now let's look at all the minimums and stuff like that. So all of this stuff, you're now going, well, what's all this stuff? Don't worry about it. Okay, that's for specialized stats things. This n equals 20 just tells you there were 20 people in the list. Okay, so the mean one is the very first one. And now I press the down arrow, which is this button here. Okay, and I start going down. And I'm going to keep going down, and I'm hoping you can see Let's go up one there. It gave me a minimum, a quartile 1, a median, a quartile 3, and obviously the maximum is the last thing it's going to show you. So if I keep going down, okay, maximum is 40. Okay, so we can write all those down now. So the minimum was 4. So the minimum for group A was 4. The lower quartile for group A. You might want to do a better table than me. You might maybe want to do a table where you've got all down the side and stuff like that. But for now, I'm just showing you how to use a calculator. So quartile 1 is 8. The median for A is 11. Your upper quartile, Q3, is 17.5. Okay, and your maximum we decided was 40. And at this point, you now need to work out the range and the interquartile range for A. And the range is the total distance between there and the maximum. Okay, so let's zoom out a little bit. So basically the distance between there and there, that's the range. So on your calculator, you're going to need to do that number, take away that one. So the range for A, in our case, is 36. And the interquartile range is the one between that one and that one. Okay? So it's between 17.5 and 8, which is 9.5. And now you've got all the information you need to be able to draw your box and whisker diagram. Okay? Now I've done it all for A, for the first set. Now I need to do it for B, don't I? So here's how it's going to work. Okay? Let's just exit out of that. Okay? Now again, we've got back to our normal menu again. Remember we did this by getting Calc. I'm going to exit again just so that you can see it. So we pressed Calc. Okay? Now I'm just going to do exactly the same, but I need to press my Set button. And this time I don't want list 1. I now want list 2. So I change it to list 2 by pressing the list 2 button, which is that one there. So if I click there, can you see it now changes to list 2? That's absolutely fine. So now all I can do now is I press my execute button. And now if I go one variable again, can you see that the mean has changed? Because now that's the mean of list 2. And equally, you've then got all the other numbers you need. There's the minimum, the quartiles, the medians, the upper quartile, and the maximum. Okay? So that allows you to work out all the numbers you need to be able to create your box and whisker diagram. Does that help? Make sense? Anybody got any questions at this point before I stop the video?